So Marc, we've got 20 minutes to talk about AI that we just spent 6 hours talking about, and we were a little late. So our goal is to not be late, right, in talking about transforming K-12 and higher ed. So we talked about a lot of stuff this morning, heard a lot of really cool, innovative ideas, but nowhere can AI be more disruptive and probably more beneficial than in education. Education is foundational. Would you agree with that? What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. It's already being used. As a matter of fact, in ways that you maybe like and don't like. So we've already seen students who are trying to turn in essays. We already seen people who are trying to do their essays for their applications to the university. But interestingly enough, the most common usage right now is they're using it on the chats. So some of the professors require a chat as part of your class, but they don't grade it. So the students are like, well, if they don't grade it, what the heck am I doing and spending my mental effort on it? And they're using a chatbot for it. So I can't blame them. I mean, it's kind of like, if you're not going to count what I'm thinking about and help me do it right, why are we doing it?
Yeah. As part of our foundational piece on education, we look at the end-to-end. So when we look at education for us, we break it down into 4 quadrants. So we've got those student spaces that you just kind of highlighted there. And that's, hey, how do we meet students where they are from an educational perspective with AI in their dorm, in their classroom, in the student center? The technology is very persuasive and invasive there. And you touched on chatbots, but as we look at AI and it permeating that student space, isn't it just kind of giving them the answers? Aren't we just kind of like, okay, everyone equates it to the calculator in the 70s, but aren't we really just giving them the rote ability to just go ahead and do, and they're no longer having to think, they're no longer having to process? How do what do you see?
So my teaching background, I'm Vice Chancellor for IT, but my teaching background is structural engineering. Do you know what the missing piece that every structural engineer, every engineering firm looks for? Is the person who can tell me if the computer output is right or not. So the answer is no, we're not just giving them the answer, because a lot of those answers are too complex. We do nonlinear structural dynamics when the barge runs into the bridge and you got to find out if it's going to fall down. Tell me how you know with the back of an envelope if that's right. So you have to learn those techniques and you have to understand how to do validation and corrections and alternate models to do it. Same's true here. There's a faculty member who was using AI and said, tell you what, we're going to use it. Every student, your next homework assignment is to write it using AI. Use ChatGPT to write your homework assignment. And they all came back the next time to turn it in and said, it took me 10 times longer if I'd just written the darn thing by myself. Because you got to validate it, you got to see if they used the right things, did they do the references correctly, all the work that you have to do. So the answer is no, we're not just giving them the answers. Although I did hear one thing, and I ought to be careful about this, is one school that said, we already know our students cheat. They've been cheating for hundreds of years. They're going to continue to cheat. We just need to make sure we teach them something and how to learn, as well as expecting them to do that.
I don't know if I probably fall into that bucket somewhere along the line. I was pretty good, and I was at NC State.
Don't tell me that.
I'm sure that I did everything by the book when I got my master's at NC State. So there's none of that. One of the other sections that we look at as we kind of look at these quads of where we intercept and where we look at from an educational perspective is kind of on the classroom space, right? And when I think of, you have the students and then you kind of have the teachers, and the teachers are that classroom space. And one of the things we talk about with AI is the fact that teachers want to teach. And isn't AI, if we're giving them another piece of technology, if we're, whether it's the AI we saw on a phone or whether it's the AI we saw on the device, isn't that just another thing that they've got to IT manage themselves as they're trying to educate their students?
It can be, but you said teachers just want to teach. In reality, teachers want to coach, mentor, and guide. The best teachers don't stand up and lecture. Don't work from a blackboard or a whiteboard. Don't do that. They help the student. So there's an old adage, you don't learn if you don't transmit that knowledge into your own brain. As a matter of fact, there's been research that says if you don't physically write it, and I mean on paper, the retention isn't as good as typing it and taking notes in class, or even on your little Remarkable if you write it that way. Not the same for some reason. And so you have to get that knowledge. So the best teachers The way I've been teaching lately is you go in there and you say, okay, here's the bridge, solve it. And they look at you like you're crazy. And they start working on it and they can't do it and they struggle and say, excuse me, but how do I know if it's going to fall down? And you help them. And you don't lecture. So the answer is that is changing. There's a faculty member that just got a very large grant. He's been doing AI for 30 years. That's why he got this large grant. He works with the military to create coaches to help military teams in the field real time using AI to help make decisions and do better as a team. So the answer is it's an additive function. It helps. Everybody uses the Khan Academy or YouTube to fix something, right? When's the last time you were under your sink going with your phone trying to fix how, right? We all do it.
We do.
So if you learn it, then you're successful.
Yeah, I think that's, again, the best way to learn is to do. The best way to teach is to continue to do. And I think, in the interest of that, everyone out here wants to hear a little bit more about AI. I feel like I should just go out and let them kind of come up here and do. Maybe they can do a little bit.
There you go.
I am gonna get into kind of your sweet spot, because I know when we talked about this, that third quadrant for us, that computer labs, science labs, that research. NC State is a research institution. As we look at this, one of the big pieces for me is you're doing research and you're creating in the university piece. As you look at these different large language models or different pieces around AI, and students and researchers start to use that model, what's the fear around, I don't want to say garbage in, garbage out, but I'm gonna. If everyone's using the same models, if everyone's using the same information, they're all generating this, isn't the output the same? And then if with speed that AI brings, doesn't it also open up that haste, open up more opportunity for error? So how, at a university level where you're doing big research, where you're doing a lot of work in labs, that integration of AI, how is it being handled at NC State?
So I got some good answers for that one. First off, we're an innovation factory. We don't teach people, we educate them and teach them how to innovate. Right? So that's a main function of what research and those other things do. And you saw it this morning in the keynote and the talk. There are three ways we look at AI in the classroom. One of them is you just use the trained model and you help do your essay or you answer a question or you do something. That's great and that's easy. Everybody's going to be using that. The other one is you innovate. So you take those foundational pieces and you go, there's no foundational piece for plant biology, for cellular reproduction, for whatever. Pick your foundation. Somebody has to create that. Somebody has to have the knowledge and has to have the pieces that are validated enough to be able to create that model and have it trusted. So that's what these folks are going to do. That's what we're going to do in universities. That's what people are going to pay for master's degrees. How do you create the knowledge? And if you don't know it already, AI is only as good as the knowledge you feed it. And so when you see those large language models, the reason you have hallucinations is because they have 27 different texts that all talk about male-female relationships. Which one is the one you're going to use when you want to ask a question? So there's conflicting information in there. You got to deconflict that, and you got to make it so the answers it gets are clear and unique in situations where a unique answer is important.
I like that you used the male-female piece and you want AI to help us justify that or figure it out.
Help us with it.
Good Lord. I need to get on GPT-4 now, figure that one out. So, you're the CIO of NC State, and we've talked a little bit about the three areas of kind of how we look at education. Mm-hmm. Help me understand, before we get into this infrastructure space, because this is the big one. This is the spine and the backbone of your institution. What are the decisions that you have to make as you're looking to bring those things in? What is the level of, as you're looking to bring in new technologies, as you're looking to bring in innovation from, you're part of a research institution, so you're constantly innovating. As you're looking at bringing in innovation, what are the decisions that you're making? What is the criteria that you're trying to bring in when looking at AI?
So I wrote a paper on neural networks in 2004. This stuff's been around for a while, folks. It's not new. ChatGPT and the generative AI stuff has gotten the world's attention. We're now in the hype cycle, if you know Gartner's hype cycle. It's at the peak of that hype. Everybody wants it, everybody needs it. I need it tomorrow. They're putting their data in places I don't even want to know about and trying to stop it. We have a great data hierarchy and way to tell you what data is safe to put where, but they don't know what putting it in a chat GPT means. They don't understand it. That's like putting it out in public and saying, here's my data, go take it, and what do you want to do with it? So the infrastructure, everybody wants a secure enclave. You heard that this morning. Everybody wants a secure enclave. They want the personal, they want the enterprise, not worry about the public. They want some version of that so I can keep my data, I can experiment, I can try building things and see what it takes to do it. It may not work, right? We're a research university. It doesn't always end up that what you experiment with ends up being the solution. But you know there's a certain number of things that are easy, right? Finding patterns is a good thing for AI. It's really good at that, right? So those are anything that has pattern finding in it. Things that are, I told somebody the other day, when you're doing research, you gotta think a bunch of steps ahead. And if you've used a statistical function to plot something and go, okay, the next answer 3 years out here is this because that's the statistics. Well, that's a historical function, folks. And all of a sudden AI took a left turn on us and that function is wrong. And so you gotta do that. So what do they want? They want a secure enclave. They want an easy button. They want somebody who says, here's my data, just let me put it in there and let it come out and let me ask it questions because that's what all the news says you can do. So I need that. And all of my peers are talking about that. How do we build that without spending a fortune? Because we run our own high performance computing systems. Why do we do it? Because we can run it at a fifth the cost of what it costs to use some of the cloud solutions. So we have to find cost effective ways to let them experiment and innovate.
Yeah, I think having that ability to be cost effective at the same time being secure.
Yeah.
Gotta, especially when dealing with your IP that's being generated out of NC State. I mean, you've got to hold on to that, but then it's also all of the student data that you've got to manage. All of that stuff, being able to keep that kind of secure and locked down. And then you have students that are wanting to use the data. How do you keep them kind of in your enclave? I think that's a big ask coming.
Well, what I found easiest is if you give them an alternative. Right now, there are no alternatives. So they got to go to the public ones, they got to do something. But if all of a sudden I said, over here, here's an experimental place you can use, it's secure, just spin up your little AI tool, put your data in, see what it does, and there's no real cost to them, that's how we do it. That's how we've done it in the past. We make it easy for them, we provide support, we help them do it. And that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, I think that is key. Being able to have a place for it to be used and having to be secure. So, as we've
I'm going to jump in on you. There's two spaces you missed here.
Okay.
Two big ones for us. We're a land-grant university. We have extension ag offices in all 100 counties in North Carolina. They're out there working with the farmers trying to help them. That's part of our classroom. Right? They do videos out there and stream them of how to look for diseases in plants and what to do. We're flying drones and getting that data. We have 26 research farms in conjunction with the Department of Ag, the North Carolina Department of Ag. I just put $2 million worth of fiber throughout one of our research farms to every barn, every livestock, and I tell them we've got CowNet now because you can put the sensors on every cow and you can stream the data, and we do. Right?
Streaming cow data.
That's where it all is, right?
Yeah.
So that's a classroom and an infrastructure place people don't think about. And then the other one is this extension piece where we go work with all of the people out there. So in medical schools, they work with the hospitals and the clinics. The manufacturing people who do manufacturing work with the manufacturers and help them optimize or try new techniques. So all of that is connected with the research that we do and the exploration. So those are two big pieces that maybe are hidden under some of the things, but yeah.
It is interesting as you look at kind of how you take that data and how you're connecting and being connected, but then also what you're preparing those students and what you're preparing your the students that kind of come through to be able to do. Like that's why I think the integration of AI and how we use it and how we secure it and lock it down, because you're preparing students that go into the into the enterprise space to be ready to use it, build it, and basically profit from it as they move forward. And
so if you're all in the workplace, I'm looking for our timer and making sure we're not Oh, no timer. Who knows how long? There was somebody with a card back there telling us.
We still got 5 minutes.
Oh, there's the card.
5 minutes.
All right.
Yeah.
Train of thought.
Oh, students going into the enterprise.
So one of the biggest bane you have is you have people who don't understand the new technology or aren't willing to change with the new technique or aren't willing to update. You have a lot of workers and a lot of folks that do that, and it's really hard to retrain. When you do it in a factory, maybe it's a little easier because it's a new machine, you can train on the machine, you can learn how to use it. But if you go from a hand lathe to an automated CNC machine, tell me how you get that worker to do that where they've got to write code. Right? So how do you educate somebody for those changes? And our new strategic plan says education for life. We expect you every year, 2 years, 3 years to come back and get new education and come and learn more because things are going to change. And they're going to change in a way that we don't know.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing that's really cool is what you're doing at NC State with the way you're educating aligns so almost perfectly with what we were just talking about around AI and AI for all, right? And that permeates every spot here. It's not just for technology, it's for vets, it's for textiles, it's for all of those different institutions, but it's being able to utilize that technology to advance career and to advance.
The good news is we keep turning out younger students, younger than we are, and they come in and they help us reset the clocks on our VCRs if you still have one, set the security on your cell phone, set it up on how to use the new app so you can talk with them on TikTok or FaceTime or whatever the new signal if you want to be secure. And so the good news is we turn out a lot of people who know that and hopefully educate all of the other folks who maybe are a little more resistant to that change.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, Marc, listen, I know you're busy. I appreciate you guys coming in and joining us here in Austin. I appreciate everyone kind of coming and listening today. And the partnership that Lenovo has with NC State, and how we move forward in terms of AI for all. And we were talking today that how we kind of go from that cloud to the data center. We had that conversation about the uniqueness and that hopefully we can bring and continue to drive with NC State. So appreciate you being here. And,
you were going to tell them we were going to be back at the...
Yeah, if there are questions for Marc, I know you don't have questions for me, but we will be back at the TrueScale booth right after this. And so it's also where the esports rig is. So
and
we
picked that because NC State's building a $16 million esports center thanks to the legislature. So it's appropriate. It'll help out. So you can all help donate to my cause.
All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate your time.
Bye all. Thank you.